think I'm live where I am supposed to be live. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Happy Wednesday. I'm back again live tonight. I'm here to talk about some more executive orders and see if y'all have any questions. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration. I run a boutique immigration law firm. I am a former USCIS Adjudications Officer. I used to work in the headquarters office in Washington, D.C. I am now a private practice immigration lawyer, and I work with companies and families, helping folks navigate their way through our U.S. immigration system. So we have seen quite a few executive orders coming out, and I want to keep you all up to date on them. They are and will impact your immigration case. Some of them I like to say are directly immigration related. Some of them I like to say are immigration adjacent. So not really on their face immigration related, but will definitely have some impact on your immigration case. And then I got a great question today that I wanted to talk to y'all about. And it really kind of informs how you look at your immigration case and how you handle it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the question I got today. And that question was, could someone travel? Could one of my clients travel? They gave me a call up. Now, my client's documents are all tip-top shape, perfectly fine. And my recommendation was still not to travel, right? Things are in such flux right now. Everything seems to be up in the air. And my recommendation not to travel to my client based on their very specific fact pattern and scenario was that I didn't want them to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? I didn't want them to be accidentally stopped from coming into the country, or I didn't want them to be picked up, even though they have the right documents, right? Even though their documents are good and solid and all things great. But at the end of the day, it is really up to my client whether they decide to travel. And I absolutely respect that decision. But I don't feel like I'd be doing my job if I didn't tell them my concerns. So we had what I thought was a really, really good conversation. And sometimes, I guess part of my point with this is that sometimes, even though you may have the right documents and your documents are good, right? This situation, this scenario, the climate, the atmosphere may not be so good for you to travel or to do something that you want to do that is immigration related. So those are kind of some of the things that I talk with my clients about and that they bring to me. And frankly, I'm glad that my client brought this to me, right? Like, I don't really like to be caught off guard, right? Like, I don't want you to, not ask me the question and then wind up with an oops, I didn't know situation. So I generally really like questions from my clients. So that is the first thing I wanted to talk to y'all about. The second thing that I wanted to talk to y'all about today were what's happening with some of the executive orders, how those executive orders are going to potentially impact your immigration case. So the big thing that came out today was that the COVID-19 vaccination is no longer required for your green card application. So that is effective today, January 22nd. That was done via executive order. And from its inception, that policy has been met with a lot of resistance from a lot of different people. So whether you are for that policy or against that policy, doesn't really matter. At this point, as of today, the COVID-19 vaccination is no longer required. However, that does not mean that all of the vaccinations are no longer required, okay? So the vaccinations that are still required are mumps, measles, rubella, polio, tetanus, diphtheria, toxoids, pertussis, in influenza type B and hepatitis B. So you still need vaccinations, you still need the medical exam, and now your medical exam needs to be submitted with your application. We can no longer hold on to that and submit it later, closer to your interview date. But big news for today is that the COVID-19 vaccination is no longer required for your green card application. So keep that in mind. Fun Zeta 02. Hello, my dear. How are you? I hope you are well. Thanks for joining. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about, there's a government hiring freeze that was effective as of yesterday, I think. It's been a long week, y'all. I think it was effective as of yesterday. But anyway, there is a federal government-wide hiring freeze. While that is not specifically immigration related, it is what I call immigration adjacent, in that because all of the government agencies now have a hiring freeze, we're going to eventually start to see longer processing times. We're going to start to see more, sadly, I think, more backlogs. And this isn't new, y'all. This is not new. A government hiring freeze is not new. The resulting longer processing times and backlogs, these are not new concepts. These have happened in the past. So while I like to talk about my crystal ball, this one I didn't really need a crystal ball for. We know that this will happen. So what does that mean? It means that if you have a family-based case and you haven't filed it yet, you should file it. You should work with a lawyer. You should get that bad boy filed if you are eligible for a benefit. If you are eligible for a green card, if you are eligible for work authorization, you want to get your application filed. You want to get your place in line. If you are an employer or you are working inside of a company or global mobility or HR, it means that you're going to have to think a little bit more long-term. You're going to want to sort of build out your timelines a little bit more when you're thinking about filing your H's, your L's, your O's, your non-immigrant visas, your non-immigrant work authorization visas. So that's really how the government the hiring freeze is going to affect different groups of people. Let's see here. Ending birthright citizenship, that was also yesterday. I think, is it yesterday? Monday, Tuesday? I don't know, y'all. It's been such a long week. I think that was Monday. But in any event, birthright citizenship, executive order, it essentially denies U.S. citizenship to children when the mom does not have U.S. citizen. She's not a U.S. citizen. She's not a green card holder, and the father is also not a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, even if that child was born in the United States. So if that child was born to parents that were here lawfully, so if the parents were here, if mom was here in visitor status, if she was here in a temporary work authorized status, so let's say she's here in an H-1B or an L-1A or an O-1, according to this executive order, that child is not a U.S. citizen. There were lawsuits filed immediately arguing that this executive order, that this policy violates the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. So we will be watching this litigation wind its way through various courthouses. And it is not, this executive order doesn't go into effect for 30 days. So sometime next month, it will go into effect. Maybe. We'll see what the federal courts have to say. So that one, ending birthright citizenship, that executive order, we will be talking about that for a while. Another executive order that I wanted to let you guys know about is the enhanced vetting and screening of immigrant applicants. So the purpose of this, the stated purpose, is really to enhance national security and public safety. We saw this before with this current administration. And again, this is something that will most likely lead to longer processing times and increased backlogs. When you are doing more background checks and taking your time with those background checks and security checks. That means longer time spent on an application, which means a longer time to process the application, which means increased backlogs, because going back to what I said earlier, they're unable now to hire more individuals to do all of this work. So the enhanced vetting essentially creates more work for the agencies to do, but the government hiring freeze eliminates the ability to hire more individuals to do the work that we have created. So those are the executive orders that I wanted to talk about today and kind of let you know about. And let me see here. Let me see if y'all have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. I was on here for a while last night. I'm not going to be on here that long because I haven't had my dinner yet. And y'all know how I always do this right before I eat. So, and I'm a slow scroller. So let me check. We are live on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channels. Again, I am attorney Carol Williams. I am an immigration lawyer. I've been practicing for over 20 years. And while I am an immigration lawyer, I am not your immigration lawyer. So what that means is all of this information that I'm giving you is just that. It is helpful information. It is not case specific. If you want to talk to me really about the specifics of your situation and your case, you are welcome to do so. You can click the link and look at my bio on any of these platforms. And then schedule a consultation. I've got constitution on the brain, sorry. You can schedule a consultation, and I'm more than happy to chat with you super in depth during a consultation. All right, yeah, what do we got for questions? Y'all know if we don't have questions, I will not keep you and log off. All right, what do we got? Thank you for the hearts, guys. I appreciate that. What do we have? I saw something. Someone is saying they put in their asylum application in 2024, so just last year, but I didn't get my interview. I don't know what the processing times are for asylum cases. My office doesn't handle asylum cases, so I don't know how quickly or how long it is currently taking for folks to get asylum interviews. But I would ask that question of an immigration attorney that does asylum work all day, every day. They are much better suited to answer that question than I am. Thank you for the glitter badges. I appreciate that, guys. I love this question. Tell me why the immigration system is slow in the US. The officers within the Immigration Service, within the Department of Labor, within Department of State runs all the consulates. They are incredibly dedicated individuals and they want to get it right. So they are not going to rush through applications just because I, frankly, would like my decisions quicker, right? I would love all of my decisions quicker than I get them from my clients. But everybody has a job to do and they are doing their job the same way that I'm doing my job. So probably not the answer you were expecting. But as someone that used to work inside USCIS, I worked alongside some really incredibly dedicated folks. And they are meticulous in what they do. So yeah, sometimes those responses and those applications are complicated and they take time to process. Again, I would love some of my decisions quicker, but I understand that in some cases that's just not going to happen. Let me see here. What else do we have? Somebody just followed me. I appreciate that. Isn't the freeze situational by schedule of employee? So the government hiring freeze is across all agencies at this point. Within each agency, there are some positions that may not be frozen, but by and large, the majority of them are. Someone has asked where I'm located. I am located in South Florida, but I work with clients all over the country. I work in clients in all 50 states, and I also work with folks that are not in the US, which makes sense, right? Like my clients are both national and international. What else? Let's see here. If a couple that legally on a tourist visa entered the US gives birth to a child in the US after February 19th. Sorry, cracking my back. I don't know that there's a question there. So if you're asking after February 19th, is that child going to be a US citizen? The answer is I don't know. Litigation, lawsuits, multiple lawsuits have been filed, essentially to answer that very question. So, like I said, we will need to take our time. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the courts. Let's see here. Let me check the other channels and see, make sure we don't have any questions over there. All right. Lots of questions on birthright citizenship. It's a big, I don't know, right? It is a huge, big, colossal, I don't know. The executive order was written. It was written so that it is effective in 30 days. So that is in February, sometime in February. Lawsuits have been filed. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with those lawsuits. A federal court judge could stop that executive order, could pause it from being implemented while cases wind their way through the federal court system. I don't know. So I don't know. That is a big fat question mark for everyone. That is a big fat question mark for everybody. If I knew the answer, I would tell you. Let me see here. Someone has asked a question about final deportation orders. My office doesn't handle deportation cases, so I am definitely not the right person for you to be asking that question. I would say you would want to do a consultation with an immigration lawyer who does deportation work all day, every day. Definitely not someone who dabbles, but someone that does immigration all day, every day. Let's see here. What happened for those who have a pending asylum? They will be deported or no? I have no idea. My office doesn't handle asylum, and we don't handle deportation work. So my office works with families, primarily U.S. citizens that are filing green cards for their fiancés, spouses, dependent children, and aging parents. And my office also works with companies that are hiring individuals that are not U.S. citizens. So we do all of the visa work for the employees. We also do green cards for those employees as well when the company sponsors their green cards. What are my thoughts on using advanced parole right now? I need to travel, but I'm so scared. So I don't know how you got your advanced parole, so I'm going to take the question a little bit broader. And your question is interesting because that's actually exactly where I started this evening. A lot of times the question within immigration is not, can I do something? The question is, should I do something? So if you have travel permission, if you have advanced parole and your advanced parole is valid, should you be able to travel on your advanced parole and come back? Yes, you should. Would I recommend it? I don't know, right? I don't know what your individual case is. I had a client this morning who asked me a very similar question, and my answer to my client, whose situation I know frontwards and backwards and inside out, was no, I don't recommend that you travel unless it's some sort of emergency, right? I told my client, I don't want you wrapped up in an accidental pickup scene. Like, I just don't want you put at risk like that, right? Even though all of your documents are pristine and perfect and great and all the things. So should you be able to travel and return to the US with no issues? If you have advanced parole, sure, right? But I don't know your individual situation. That is a perfect case, if, a perfect scenario where I would say, have a consultation with an immigration lawyer, tell them your entire situation, and then get their feedback on whether or not you should travel right now. Because the answer might be, yes, you can travel, but I just don't recommend it, right? So that is something that you should think about. Sometimes the question is not, can I do it? It is, should I do it? Let's see here. What else do we have? Really the same answer. If you have an approved work authorization and an advanced parole, my answer is the same. My answer is not, should you do it? My answer is not, can you do it? It is, should you do it? And so I don't know. I don't know what your individual situation is. But I can tell you, I told someone just this morning, whose case is pretty clean, no hiccups, no nothing, no criminal background, that I, knowing their case, do not recommend that they travel right now. So, whether you choose to travel is completely your decision. But I would recommend that you have a consultation with an immigration lawyer, talk to them. If you're already represented, talk to your immigration lawyer and see what they say. What other questions do we have? Thanks for joining, guys. I like talking to you guys at night. What else do we have by way of questions? Someone, I want to say 4 years, something like that, but it was a while. I don't know. That might not even be right. It may have been longer. I don't know. It was a good time though. I will say that. I worked with some very cool people when I was in the agency. What other questions do y'all have? What happened if I already sent in my 693 form? With respect to what? The COVID vaccination? What do you mean? What do you mean? We talked about COVID vaccination earlier. So if that's what you mean, and you've already sent in your 693, which is the medical form, then it's done. Like, that you don't have to, you don't have to worry about it. If you've already sent it in, then you've already had, the civil surgeon has filled it out. He or she has checked all the boxes that they need to check and given you all the vaccinations that you are lacking, if any, and sent the form in. So it's not a situation where they shouldn't be sending you back like a new form, which, we're absolutely going to get a new medical form soon, that deletes the COVID-19 piece of the puzzle, based on the executive order that came out today. But if you've already filed your medical, then you don't have to sort of get another one, go to another civil surgeon and refile it. Don't have to do that, assuming that was your question. But if that wasn't your question, feel free to expand on your question a little bit. So someone is asking, my DACA expires in June. Should I bother renewing with this administration in power? So my office doesn't handle DACA, but I will tell you this about DACA. And again, my office doesn't handle DACA, but I have friends that do DACA applications all day, every day. And they have been telling me that they have been telling their clients, if they are able to renew their DACA, to go ahead and do that. So that is like 3rd, 4th, 5th level information. But my office doesn't handle DACA. So I'm definitely not able to give you anything more than that. With DACA, I know like just enough to be dangerous. Let's see. How would I be able to change the embassy address to the beneficiary's interview. So are you just looking to go to a different consulate for your interview? So with this new administration, I don't know what that policy is going to look like. Yeah, my chair is like acting up. Hold on. There we go. So I don't know what that is going to look like under the new administration. So in general, though, if you want to go to a different consulate, then you have to kind of have a reason to be in that country. Like, are you living there? Are you working in a country that is not, that is not your passport country? So for instance, like, are you on work assignment in Canada? Therefore you want to go to the US consulate in Canada, because it would be, kind of silly and hard to go, all the way back home, wherever home would be. Or do you just not like the processing times of your consulate? Because if you don't like the processing times and you're looking for a different consulate to go to, I don't know that that's really going to work under this current administration. This current administration is about extreme vetting and background checks, which we know. We have an executive order out. That's what happened during the last administration. So I don't know that sort of consulate shopping is going to be on the list of things that we can do. But again, if there's a reason why you are in this other country, then yes, under those circumstances, even in the past, we have been able to move your case to a different consular office. But understand this, I will say this. When you switch, let me say it this way. When you process your case at a consulate that is not your home consulate, it is harder for that third country consulate to understand and know the documents that you are submitting, like a birth certificate, a divorce decree, a lease agreement, like bank statements, right? Because presumably you're submitting documents that are not from the country that you are, in which you're applying. So sometimes that backfires on people, quite frankly. Sometimes that absolutely backfires on people, where they go to a different consulate because they think it's going to be easier, they think it's going to be faster, whatever the reason. And the consulate has all sorts of questions, and because they don't know your documents, right? Versus if you were in your home country, a consular officer would know exactly what your bank statements should look like, your tax returns, all these documents that are very country specific. So when you're thinking about, trying to go to a different consulate, just there are pros and cons to that. So I would recommend that you have a conversation with an attorney if you are looking to go to a different consulate. So hopefully that was helpful. What do I do if it says my case is not ready when I go to make my interview? I'm not quite sure what type of case you're talking about. You shouldn't be scheduling an interview if you have not been, if you don't have an approval. Let's see here. What about an I-130? I have 8 months left to know anything. I don't know what you mean by you have 8 months left. Oh, I see. Your husband is not from the US. Got it. So I'm not quite sure what you mean by you have 8 months left. So that's really kind of a consultation question, but there's, I understand that anxiety levels are high. Let me see here. Let's see here. What do we have? You're saying someone's asking, what about someone with a C1D visa? That's typically a transit visa. So I'm not quite sure what your question is. But those are visas where people are transiting through the US. They're not here for a very long time. So think your cruise ship staff, your flight attendants, your pilots that are coming in from overseas that are not U.S. citizens. Typically, so if we're talking flight attendants or pilots, they will land, right? They're coming in from an international flight. They'll land. They may stay a night or two, maybe three, I think, but they don't stay in the U.S. long, and they're technically working. They're sort of in a work status when they enter because they've been working the flight. They come in. There are rules and regulations about how long they can be in the air, working whatever. So they may come in. They may have like a layover for like 24 hours, and then they're out again. So they're not allowed to obviously take on another job. They generally don't tend to go very far from the airport, quite frankly, because their stays in the US typically are very, very short. They're very short turnaround. And so the same thing happens with folks that work on cruise ships that come into port. They stay, maybe 24 hours, 48 hours, enough time as it takes them to get the ship, like cleaned up, whatever, maintenance if they need to, turn around, and then they go back out again. Thank you for the glitter badges, guys. I appreciate it. What else do we have? Oh, I'm such a bad scroller, y'all. I'm a citizen. So I'm a U.S. citizen. I applied for my husband to come. How long will it take from the Middle East? I have no idea. So you can go online, y'all. Let me pull up the USCIS website. You can go onto the USCIS website. If you're on your computer, you scroll down on your right hand side. God, y'all, I don't not know my left from my right. You scroll down on the right hand side. You check processing times. You'll get a 3-box drop down menu. So you go down to the first box. You click in your case, it would be I-130 or I-129F, whatever you've done. And then you click the form category, and then you click the office that is currently processing your case, and then you click get processing time. That will tell you what roughly, I believe, 80% of cases that are similarly situated, so type of case and location of being processed, how long that case is going to take. I have no idea, how long a case is going to take from a specific region of the world. Once your application is done once your first part of your application is done in the US, then you have to start working with NVC and the consulates. Consulates set their own priorities. So if they are prioritizing employment-based cases right now to get through that backlog, it's going to take longer for them then to get to your family-based case, or vice versa. If they are working family-based cases right now and that is their priority, then it may not take as long. So short answer to your question is I just don't know. But that is how you find out how long the average processing is. And that's something I usually provide to my clients when we start working together. So they know, and I, keep them updated on that. Someone is saying I have a work permit with a pending I-130 and 45. Can you travel domestically? You shouldn't have a problem traveling in the contiguous 48. But you want to have a consultation with an immigration attorney so that they understand what your full immigration background is. So this, again, is a question of can I versus should I. Can you travel in the U.S.? Sure, absolutely, right? You can get on a plane, you can hop on a train, you can get in a car. The question is, should you? And that's the question I don't know for you. I don't know your full immigration history. So you want to have a conversation with an immigration attorney about that. And so lay bare to that immigration attorney your specific situation, your specific background, so that they can help you make an educated decision as to whether or not you want to travel domestically or whether or not you want to travel internationally. Let's see here. What if I'm What if I'm illegally here, but only because my husband is refusing to get me a green card? Um, if your husband is a U.S. citizen, that might allow you to apply for VAWA. That may qualify you for VAWA. I would say my best advice to you is to schedule consultation with an immigration lawyer that does VAWA related cases all day, every day. You want someone who is really well versed in VAWA, and they can, look at other options that you may have as well. My case was documentarily qualified in February 2024. When should I expect an interview date from the embassy in Lagos? I don't know. I have no idea. Each consulate sets their own priority. Each consulate works with the National Visa Center. And so I had a case that wasn't in Lagos. I think it was in Canada. And I want to say it took 8 months to get, I think it was like 8 or 9 months. It took a long time. I mean, but I'm impatient, but it took a long time for them to get their interview. Here's the deal though. If you are working with the NVC, if your case is currently at the NVC, if you have a case number with the NVC, remember, you must log into the system or call them or reach out to them at least once a year. If they do not hear from you once a year, they will cancel your case. They will stop processing your case. So make sure that you are reaching out to them. And this even if they send you correspondence that says, we're not processing your case right now because, maybe your priority date isn't current, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You should be logging into your NVC SEAC account or calling them so that they can register in and put in their records that you have reached out to them at least once a year. So that is the absolute positive minimum. So you want to make sure that your case doesn't get canceled. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? How long are Trump immigration deportations taking? I have no idea. My office doesn't handle deportation defense cases. So it's not an area of immigration that I am at all well versed in. That is a question that is much better asked to an immigration lawyer who does deportation defense cases all day, every day. Let me see here. Let's see here. If I reported my husband for refusing me a green card, can I take my son back to Canada with me? So short answer is I don't know, right? I don't know if we are talking a U.S. citizen child. I don't know if we're talking a child that you two had together or if this is his stepchild. There seem to be a couple of things going on there. There seems to me to be an intersection with immigration and family law. So I would not take a child across an international border without having extensive conversation in this scenario with a minimum of an immigration lawyer and a family law lawyer. Because taking children across state lines in the U.S. Can have some very serious consequences when it comes to family law issues. When you add in an international border, then you add in immigration issues. So I would have a consultation with a family law attorney and an immigration lawyer to make sure that you are dotting all of your I's and crossing all of your T's. Someone is asking, is Trump going to deport green card holders as well? The short answer is I don't know. That said, I love your question because it is important to know that green card, being a lawful permanent resident and having a green card does not shield someone from getting deported. Someone can absolutely be placed in deportation proceedings if they have a green card. When I talk to my friends that do deportation defense, usually what has happened if someone has a green card, they have committed crimes. And so certain crimes make you deportable. But again, that is not my specific area within immigration. But I love when people ask me that question because some folks get their green card and they think they are fully immune from getting deported, and that is just not the case. Once you become a U.S. citizen, assuming your applications leading up to your U.S. citizen were in good standing, there was no fraud, there was no issues, then you are shielded from being deported as a U.S. citizen. I lost my question. Let me see here. I have an RFE for my medical report. One page is incomplete, COVID vaccine brand not written. That's all. I would have a conversation with an immigration lawyer about that before it is responded to, because today there's as of today, January 22nd, there was an executive order that was signed by the president that the COVID vaccination was no longer required. So if that is the only thing that is at issue in that RFE, then you may not need to fix that form. Or you can fix it and send it in and call it a day. But I would definitely have a conversation with an immigration attorney about that. Let me see here. I've received my Social Security, I'm assuming number, but my work permit is taking a long time. What can I do? Wait. Nothing is moving quickly right now, and nothing is going to move quickly for a while. The first thing I would do is recommend that you go onto the USCIS website, check the processing times. If your card is past the processing times listed, then I would do a request to USCIS to ask them what's going on. If you have some sort of reason to have it expedited, and y'all, a reason to have something expedited is not, it is taking too long, is not, I just want it now, and is not, I'm tired of waiting. Those are not reasons. USCIS hears those reasons all the time, and they deny expedite requests that have those reasons all the time. So if you have a reason to expedite, other than the ones I just mentioned, then you may want to think about asking them to expedite it. But they get a lot of expedite requests, and they deny a lot of expedite requests for things that I think should be expedited, right? That I think are heart-wrenching. And but expediting within the agency means that they are taking your application out of line and putting it in front of, possibly thousands of others, millions of other applications. They want to have a really good reason for doing that. It's fairness, right? The Immigration Service works, for the most part, it's not always going to be the case, but for the most part, first in, first out, essentially meaning everybody waits in line. So there's generally not a whole lot of line jumping going on. So keep that in mind if you want an expedite, right? If 5,000 people ahead of, behind you requested an expedite, then that means you're waiting even longer. Let's see here. What else do we have? After marriage, how long should I wait to file for your adjustment of status? If you're marrying a U.S. citizen, you don't have to wait at all. You can get married and then file the next day. How long is the naturalization process taking right now? I don't know for sure. Naturalization depends on the processing time of your local office. So what you can do is you can go onto the USCIS website, scroll down on the right-hand side, you will see processing times, click that button. Then you can put in the form for naturalization. You can put in the form N400, then you can put form category, which would be, let me just do it. Let's see here, N400. Form category, application for NATS. Pick your city. I'm just going to pick Atlanta because it's close to the top of the list, which is done alphabetically. You hit get processing times. I can tell you right now the general processing time to get a citizenship application through the Atlanta local office is 7.5 months. So again, just go online, go on to USCIS, look for the case processing times and scroll down to the appropriate city, or the appropriate city that has the local office that is closest to you. It's not always going to be the city that you live in. So, because I don't want you coming back and be like, I look for my city and it's not there. It's going to be the city that has the closest local office to you. But citizenship, really out of the offices that I work with the most, are not taking that long, surprisingly. And again, not long in immigration terms. In real life terms, yes, it takes a while. Oh, you said you're actually in Atlanta. Well, there you go. If I renew my daughter's passport, will she get it? I'm assuming you mean the U.S. passport. Unless there's a reason for them not to renew it. Like, I feel like there's something brewing behind that question. But I mean, they should renew it, assuming they don't have any problems or any issues with the application. What else? What other questions do we have? Hold on 1 second. Let's see here. Can I withdraw my N400 application after I receive a NOID? This is the can I versus should I. Procedurally, can you withdraw it? Absolutely. Should you withdraw it? I have no idea. I would, if I were you, before I withdrew it, I would have a consultation with an immigration lawyer, if you're not already working with one, and talk to them about why you want to withdraw it as opposed to responding to the NOID. And for those of you that don't know, NOID is notice of intent to deny. I personally look at RFEs, request for further evidence, NOIDs, notice of intent to deny, as one more opportunity to state my case to the immigration service. So I don't always think of them as bad things, right? Because frankly, what the agency could do is just simply hand me a denial, right? And that, we certainly don't want that. But if they're willing to, do this give and take with me, then I am happy to do that with them, right? So, the NOID might not be such a horrible thing. It is another opportunity to state your case. Let's see here. Let me see here. I'm unable to provide all the RFEs they are asking for. I don't quite know what you mean by that. How soon after biometrics do you get an interview? Completely depends on how quickly your local office is processing applications and what kind of application you filed. So that is very much a local office thing. So yeah, again, I don't know. But and when I say to you guys, I don't know, this is the same thing I tell my clients, right? So there are things that I don't know. Like I, I joke about my crystal ball all the time, but there are some things that I don't know, right? And some things that are always going to be a moving target. And one of those things is, how long is it going to take from biometrics to interview? How long is it going to take from biometrics to approval? How long is it going to take from filing to, getting my interview? That like I don't know, right? Like I don't know. I can tell you general processing times that the Immigration Service gives to us, which you have access to. It's on their website. But sometimes, like they just don't tell us, right? So for some things, they don't tell us. So you guys, this has been fun as always. But I am going to go get myself some dinner because I generally come on here before I eat dinner. I typically eat pretty late. But if you want to work with me and work with my team, you can hit the link in the bio and schedule a consultation. All of my clients always start off with doing a consultation so that I can figure out what's happening in their individual situation, and to see if it's a case that my office can even help them with. And if we can help with that type of case, can we help you given your situation? So all of that is discussed during a consultation. So I'm Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, an immigration firm here in the US. We work with families and businesses, helping people really kind of sort through and navigate this confusing maze that is US immigration. I will chat with you all soon. I will probably be back on tomorrow night live, right? Probably around like 7:30, 7:45-ish, somewhere in there. So again, if you have any questions, bring those tomorrow night and I will give you whatever updates I have of things that happen tomorrow in the world of US immigration. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.